What's up, y'all? Back again today with a very special video. So today, I'm gonna be real. I'm at work, but it's kind of slow, so I'm just gonna make this quick video because this has really been on my mind. And I don't really make a lot of videos as compared to certain other channels, certain other platforms, certain other content creators. I've noticed that it's like everybody has an opinion now, right? So I try not to make too many videos for the main reason that I don't want to just flood my channel with just my opinion all the time. And certain things just might not necessarily even need that much attention or energy. Sometimes I'll see something and I won't necessarily just make a video right after it happens. Sometimes I'll let it ferment in my head. I'll let it sit around in my head for a little while. Forgive the noise if you hear the noise, because like I said, I'm outside. So I'll let some certain ideas float around my head. And so today I just want to talk about a few things. I want to label this video, should black men cut their natural hair? Should black men cut their natural hair? That is the label of this video. And the reason why I want to make this video, like I said, I had a few things floating in my head, and so now they're all coming together. So what the catalyst that made me finally make this video was recently a woman named Sally Hazelgrove of Illinois, the surrounding Chicago area. She is a Caucasian American woman, a white woman, as they are so called, and she is the head or the leader of an organization that claims to be taking young boys off the streets, young black boys, and keeping them out of trouble by putting them in boxing matches and keeping them occupied with certain recreational activities. So far, there's nothing wrong with the story. Seemingly a well-wishing white woman trying to help young black boys get off the streets or be more productive. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we should accept help from all avenues if the help is genuine. But here's the issue with Miss Sally Hazelgrove. Recently a picture circulated, actually a number of pictures circulated, that show Miss Sally Hazelgrove cutting with scissors the dreadlocks of two different young African American males. I'm going to show you the screenshot of these pictures as well as the caption that she put for these pictures. And I want you to note that she says that two more young black men allowed her to cut their dreads. She calls them dreads. The first thing I want to let you know is in what we call the dreadlock community, I guess some people call it, where black Americans have decided to grow out their natural hair. We have to understand the dynamics and the context of what's happening here. Traditionally, when we think of dreadlocks, we may think of what? Yeah, man, Rasta man, right? Like Bob Marley, correct? But when we actually realize when dreadlocks started coming to America, being more prevalent, I remember when Lil Wayne seeing the Stunting Like My Daddy video. There was you can go on YouTube and look up the video Stunting Like My Daddy with Lil Wayne. His hair was just so long, just way down here. He was just so cool. He had the tattoos. I was like, dang, that's kind of dope. At the time, I had my little waves. My whole life I had a little taper and waves, my little short, presentable haircut, right? But when I saw that, I was like, that's kind of dope. Then fast forward, as I got older and older, I started naturally gravitating to wanting to have longer hair. Now, like I said, I'm gonna make a whole video describing why I grew my hair out, but I want to let it be known that black Americans are growing out their hair in styles such as dreadlocks as a form of self-love and as a form also of rebellion to the establishment and to the Eurocentric or Europeanized, westernized construct of beauty. So if I could just be in layman's terms, black people are growing out their dreads because we're tired of being told that our natural self is for somehow unpresentable. Now that's what we have to understand. So now going back to Miss Sally Hazelgrove, I don't want to get too far off the topic. Going back to Miss Sally Hazelgrove, the reason why it's an issue, Sally, if you're watching this video, because I have to let it be known that Sally then recently came out with a video, or should I say, she put out a video of the young man's hair that she cut, and the young man is saying that he chose to cut his hair because he wants to live a better life and he doesn't want to gangbang anymore.
Shout out to Crushers Club, everything they done for me. I'm gonna change that man now. Come out here like 3 years ago, that's something I wanted to do because I was tired of it. Tired of gangbanging, tired of messing up. Now I'm a changed young man, trying to see bigger and better dreams.
And this is one of the main issues with this whole idea, along with the woman's caption saying that, you know, cutting his hair is a symbol for a better life and she cut his dreads. Along with that caption, the gentleman that came out who actually had his hair cut is also saying, yeah, I don't want to gangbang and I don't want to have dreads anymore. So this is the issue, because for some reason, dreadlocks are being associated with living a degrading life, or somehow being a criminal, or somehow being involved in gang activity. There's no correlation whatsoever with one's hairstyle versus their behavior patterns. So that's the first thing we have to note, is that why is it that you are relating or combining someone being in a gang with them having dreadlocks, Sally? Why are you telling young, impressionable, lost black African American, quote unquote, melanated men that in order to live a better life, in order to show that you're not in a gang, you have to cut your hair? Now this is where I have to note another thing that was festering in my head for a long time, and I wanted to make a video on that too. It is Michael Vick. A few years ago, Michael Vick came out with a video in which, in front of a panel of Caucasians and other people, he said that Colin Kaepernick, who has an afro, who kneeled down to basically silently protest police injustice, Michael Vick said that Colin Kaepernick should cut his afro off in order to be more presentable. Don't believe me? Here's the video.
The first thing we got to get Colin to do is cut his hair. You know, listen. I'm not up here to try to be politically correct, but, you know, even if he puts cornrows in it, I don't think he should represent himself, you know, in that way in terms of, you know, just the hairstyle. Just go clean cut. You know, why not? You know, you're already dealing with a lot of controversy surrounding this issue.
That's a fascinating thing to hear you say, Mike.
The thing that he needs to do is, you know, just try to be presentable.
Be presentable.
I mean, look, so all the social media stuff that he's doing, look, we get it, we understand it. It's time for, you know, Colin to step up in a different way. And listen, I love the guy to death, you know, but I want him to also succeed on and off the field.
So as you see, we have a pattern of ideas and beliefs that for some reason black Americans cannot keep their hair, cannot be natural and be presentable at the same time. We've seen this construct being played out in real time. Like I said, I've had dreads, we call them dreads. Some people who may be uninformed may call them dreads. But when you get deeper into words and understanding language, you understand that these are not dreads. There's nothing dreadful about them. Dread means to despise or to fear. There's nothing fearful about my hair. It's locks of hair. Just like Goldilocks or anyone else has locks of hair, they're called locks, and they're quite appropriately called locks because they're locked. You cannot take them out. So we call them locks, but some people call them dreads. I say all that to say we have to understand the context of being black in America, because when these things happen, and then now, Sally, you don't understand why there's ramifications. You don't understand why there's a backlash. You don't understand why people are offended. But you want us to forgive you for that. But you're not understanding the reasoning why we're offended in the first place. You're not taking the time to understand. So you have a whole organization aimed at young black boys, seemingly understanding that young black boys are at risk, but then you don't take the time to educate yourself on the ways in which young black boys are at risk. You know young black boys are being attacked and they need help, so you started an organization, but you haven't educated yourself on the ways in which they're being attacked. And you think that just by putting them in a couple boxing matches against other black boys, that's going to give them the mind state and the mind frame and the psychology and the behavior patterns that's going to help them propel in a system that was meant to destroy them, Sally? Really, Sally? And then furthermore, you couldn't have just took him to an actual barber who knows how to cut hair? You're seen in the picture smiling with his dreadlock in your hand and scissors in your hand. That's not how you do it. But I digress. I didn't want to make a full long video, but as I said, I have some things festering in my head, and I want to ask the question, should black men just be presentable and clean cut? And who set the standard of beauty of presentable and clean cut? I mean, let me ask you a question. Is my hair, let me ask you a question. Is my hair not presentable? Is that the case? My hair is not presentable, right? You probably say no, right? Well, how about this guy? Is his hair presentable? His hair is presentable, isn't it? It's very presentable because you want this guy in your pocket, don't you? So for this guy, it's okay. But for this guy, now he's a thug, he's a savage, and he's dreadful. Do you understand? Do you understand the constructs of the subtleties of war? The way they keep us mentally enslaved by then putting each other against each other. Because like I said, it's one thing when someone named Sally Hazelgrove from somewhere in Illinois, a white woman, cuts a black man's hair, gets him to cut his hair, convince him that he's not beautiful. That's been happening since the beginning of time. But like I said, when it's somebody like Michael Vick, he comes out and he says, oh, cut your hair, black man. Now you have another black man telling a black man to cut his natural hair to assimilate into a culture that is never going to accept him to begin with. That is where the issue arises, and this is why I said we must destroy the ideologies and the enforcements of white supremacy. Before I end, I want to let this be known. When I speak about the ideologies of white supremacy, it is just that, an ideology, an idea, a belief system that can be destroyed with facts. Yeah, you can continue to believe that white people are supreme, but the facts that I'm going to present are going to so damage that theory that it's no longer being able to be brought out in life. We have to understand why it's important to defeat the ideologies of white supremacy, because it is not saying that you're trying to defeat or eradicate white people. It is simply destroying the ideologies that hold one race over another, and thus the behavior patterns and the enforcements of that. You're enforcing white supremacy when you tell black people to cut their hair. You're subtly saying that they are not acceptable, but you allow people like Benjamin Franklin and whoever else to have their hair because that is acceptable. Oh, one more thing, and yes, I put my hair back up. I told you I'm at work. It is extremely interesting to note that this same group, who by the way is called the Inglewood Crushers, has reportedly and allegedly just received a $200,000 grant from Jay-Z's Rock Nation, the NFL, and their joint venture of the Inspire Change Initiative. If you've been paying attention to the news recently, supposedly Jay-Z made a deal with the NFL in spite of what Colin Kaepernick has going on with the NFL, in which a lot of people were up in arms. Some people were on his side, some people were against the move, in which Jay-Z sat down with the NFL and said, okay, I'm tired of us talking about it, I'm tired of us kneeling, let's move on to the next step. My personal feelings on that is that Jay-Z is not necessarily a reliable spokesperson for black people, considering he's been seen pouring champagne on naked black women. That's a whole nother topic. But I wanted to note that people were questioning what Jay-Z's deal was with the NFL. But now we're starting to see that one of the very first instances in which they're putting money or putting resources into the hood for underprivileged black kids, one of the very first groups you give $200,000 to is also happens to be a group that thinks that cutting black men's natural hair somehow equates to them living a better life. Or maybe I'm bugging. Am I tripping, or is that a flawed ideology that someone's hair has anything to do with the way that they behave? In any instance, you let me know, and like I said, I need you to please vibrate higher.